So if you look around the Peace region and imagine yourself being here 12 to 13,000 years ago, the glaciers had just departed from this area, and they'd left vast areas of very fine textured sediment that were glacial till, so soils that had been compressed under thick layers of ice, and glacial lake bed sediments, so very thick silt and clay that had accumulated on the bottom of the lake bed. And that material that was left behind after the glaciers is what our soils that we have now have developed into. So the soils that we have here reflect the material that was left behind by the glaciers, and then various soil forming processes that have occurred since, which reflect patterns of precipitation and the types of vegetation that have grown here since. And that's what farmers have to work with. So that's really an important factor to keep in mind, because we sometimes compare ourselves to soils on prairies, these really thick, less fine textured, higher pH soils that accumulated because of this really luxurious growth of grass and grasslands that have been grazed by bison over millennia. And those soils are incredibly thick. They have a higher pH. They're really rich in organic matter, and they reflect the soil that departed after the glaciers, as well as this grassland vegetation and the action of animals and differences in patterns of precipitation and climate that we just don't have here in this northern climate, with finer textured soils and that were developed under forest systems. So we will, no matter what we do, never get a thick Chernozemic soil like you might see around Lethbridge, because we just don't have the climate and vegetation and soil to build that type of a soil. It's a very young soil, and there's not really anything to bring back. I think sometimes we say we want to use regenerative agricultural practices to bring soils back, but we were starting with a challenging soil that's great at growing aspen and spruce, but it's not great at being a grassland. So we have to work extra hard to get the types of crops that we want to grow here